Anthrax with Spreading the Disease. 9 tracks, 43 minutes. The second studio album with the American thrash band, released October 1985 by Megaforce and Island Records, produced by Carl Kennedy, the band, and John Zazula. One single was released in Madhouse. This was the band's major label debut and the first with Joe Belladonna on vocals and Frank Bello on bass. Go for it.
This album was one of the first I ever got.
Cool.
Yeah, in between getting Number of the Beast, Iron Maiden, this was another one I got as a Christmas present on cassette.
Wow.
Just took it on whim, my cousin.
Yeah.
Best thing they ever did. Got it wrong after that, but that was a good one. Yeah, I remember like looking at it and sort of, why is this guy? Like I was very young at that point in time, so I was very judgmental of a weird guy on the cover. He looks like he's getting electrocuted, and I thought, well, this is not very good, is it? You know, but put it on, and at that stage I didn't know it was a new singer and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I found that out later on, but I think as good as I forget what the first guy's name was.
Neil Turbin.
Neil Turbin, yeah. Joey's just took over where he left off,
Yep.
and the band just took it up another level with these songs. Like that's a good album, Armed and Dangerous, but this one here is just like production is good for its era. I think.
Yep.
I think it's really well balanced. They're starting to get more experimental with their riffing and sort of more metalized. You know, there was sort of a little bit of punk element in the earlier stuff, kind of like how Maiden started out. It's a bit more looser.
I actually got that.
And as the albums went along, they got a bit more metal, a bit more tighter, intricate with the riffing. I heard it on this album a lot. There's no filler tracks at all on this album, I don't think. And I think it kind of gets lost for the era being more on the early side of the 80s. If this had to come out in 88, 89, it would have been massive.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think the playing, it just went through the roof, like between albums. Obviously, they've been doing a bit more touring, a bit more playing together, just sort of gelling on their craft, and I thought it was an amazing album. Madhouse, Aftershock, and Medusa. But again, this is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
Like, there's no filler. Like, these are good fucking albums. And to go back to them and hear them from top to bottom, I haven't done it in years, and it was just, I forgot how good they were.
I don't think you've ever given more than 110 an episode, ever.
No.
It's the first time for you.
Yeah, no, everything's all there. You know, I think they're great musicians. I think they're probably a little bit underrated, although they're on the big four. They don't really get a lot of credit. They're always sort of cast to the side, and there's only the hardcore fans, but fantastic album, through and through.
Cool.
Wow, okay, 10. So for me, we just spoke about Among the Living. That was the first Anthrax album I heard. And as these guys know, once I get into a band, I obsess and I go backwards. So yeah, as soon as I heard that all those years ago, I went back and I started listening to the earlier stuff, starting with this album, Spreading the Disease. For many years, this was my favourite Anthrax album for many years. Among the Living just pipped it in the later years, but for many years growing up in the formative years for me, I was all about spreading the disease, both socially and...
Any way you could.
Anyway, hey, beggars can't be choosers. Anyway, it's a great album. Oh, guys, I'm trying to be professional here.
How's that working out for you?
I just love...
We'll ask your wife about that one.
That's why she's not here tonight.
She's recovering
No, she's in some kind of clinic somewhere. I don't know. Let's get back. Okay. This album kicks you in the nuts straight away and doesn't let go. Air, what an opening track, that one there. The thing is, I've just recently gone from reprogramming my iPod and stuff. Anthrax is the first band I got on there, so Air 4A, that's the first song on my iPod and stuff, and getting to the car as soon as that kicks off, it does not stop. So do not skip that track. What I liked about this album is they were showing a definite growth between Fistful of Metal and this, and it was a relatively short time in between.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, there was a few of the punk sensibilities that were on Fistful of Metal were kind of making way for a bit more of a metalized approach sort of thing. Just the songwriting on this was a whole other step up. And it was basically, to their credit, Anthrax is a band that did take step-ups as they went through the process. Biggest change on here, that, as Mick pointed out, was Joey Belladonna coming into the fold. He transformed this band, made it into something completely brand new for me. Not many bands can replace a singer and do it well. I mean, Maiden did it.
AC/DC.
AC/DC has done it.
Yep.
Anthrax, you'd have to put them in there. You know,
I agree with that, and they did it more than once too.
You know, I mean, you can change anyone else in the band and kind of keep it relatively samey kind of thing. Changing a vocalist is a complete different game.
It's always a big gamble. When you're changing the voice or the front of the band, you know, that's huge.
Yeah, you're changing the whole aesthetic of it. This album for me was just, like I say, it was another step up. It was more towards the metal side. It showed traces or the beginning of what Anthrax would become for me.
I think some of it too, being from New York, and the other bands are from California.
Yeah.
They weren't influenced by those bands. They were kind of doing their own thing, and I think that's why they sound unique and they've got their own identity.
More urbanised kind of.
You know, it's a different sound to Megadeth or Metallica or anyone. They're completely different.
It was, but also going back to the New York thing, I mean, it's the whole mentality and mindset. LA is all about, obviously, you know, the look, the feel, all this kind of stuff. New Yorkers don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know? So Anthrax was just throwing everything that they could at their albums. And you know, this album was awesome for me. Much like Among the Living, a lot of these tracks are still standouts in their set.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about an album that's now 30-odd years old, isn't it? 36, 30-something years old?
Came out in 85, I believe it was.
84, 34.
And a lot of these songs have come back when Joey's come back too, and they sound fresh, you know, so,
But you're right, you said about before, they sound like a band rejuvenated now, but they've got a strong set of songs, and a lot of them are on this album. You know, songs like, I'm just having a look through the track listing now, Gung Ho is probably my favourite Anthrax song of all time.
Okay.
Medusa's an awesome one as well. I mean, they still play Madhouse, as an example.
Yeah.
These are songs that have stood the test of time, and this album has stood the test of time for me as well. It's just a fantastic album, top to finish. Can't really fault it. Like I say, it was my favourite for many years. Then it got topped by Among the Living. I gave Among the Living 10. I've got to give this like probably a 9.
Okay. Well, this is raw and energetic, and it's come straight out of 85 and just pumps you up right away. The funny thing is, for mine, knowing later works, when you hear this one, you can hear bits of what would come later on from the band, and that sort of is a trend that would continue through all the way. They always experimented, but they always sort of had this fundamental core, which was always really cool.
For me, they found themselves on this and going, okay, this is where we're going to go forward now, you know?
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
Much more settled.
Yeah.
There's great riffs and drumming on this, and I love the use of groove, and they kick it over into that from, like when they kick it over into the more thrash-based stuff, they just really, like the riffs and the drums really come into their own in those parts for mine. Some cool lead work on this. The bass rumbles away nice underneath, and you can hear, for mine, you can hear Joey Belladonna's a little bit green compared to what you get later on vocally, but he's still powerful in putting his stamp on these songs. We all know it's a thrash band, but I like the way the bass can lead these songs at times. Now they give the space to the bass player to do that. That was really cool. Like I got that Iron Maiden thing that you were talking about as well. There are some loaded up lyrics in this though, which add something to the intensity. It wasn't just the music; it was also what they were talking about. There was an intensity to it. Complete stories in the songs that cover a fair variety of topics, but have a great mix of fun and seriousness, which is cool. There are some good hooks in this one as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's very melodic.
Yeah, it's
very
it's
melodic.
Cool.
As soon as you put a clean vocal on heavy, it just
works.
changes the whole dynamic, you know. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing is also, don't forget, Joey Belladonna was singing lyrics mostly written by Neil Turbin as well, and he was making them sound realistic and believable. So, yeah, I can see what you're saying about him being green, but he came into the band really just before this was recorded. So,
it wasn't a knock on him. It was just you can just hear he's just starting out, and you know where he goes later on. It's like, he sounds great though.
Yeah, if anything, I think it's actually it's a nod to him that he can come into a brand new band, sing lyrics written by someone completely different, and make it sound so good.
Yeah, no, it's a fair credit, absolutely. I still like better. I still think for me vocally his best performance was on Worship Music. I thought that was his best vocal, but
he's come back rejuvenated.
Yeah, but this one, though, has aged pretty well production-wise. This is really held up. It's still time-stamped, but everything is so clear, well-balanced. Not a lot of tricks. Not a lot of these bands use a lot of tricks at this point in time. But where they've made things sit in the mix is fantastic. The vocals cut through nicely. The lead guitar goes up and down in the mix as required for the song. It's all really well-balanced, and the top and the bottom ends on this were really well done. The little bits of Foley they added on it, they were another step in this too. Everything serves the songs on this record, in both the writing and the production. When you get stuck into this, it's beyond the fun trip down memory lane, which this one certainly is. This is a really well put together work. You don't need those notes later on? No?
I'll give you my notes.
I'll just bring it.
What notes? But the subtle harmonies on the vocals are really cool as well. Just the right touch of rawness on this release for mine. Different and diverse influences on this, and they touched on with the album to serve the breakup the album dynamics nicely, as does the use of depth within the sound. This album is pretty fast overall, not a lot of room for taking a breath, so to speak, because they're really just going at it. But it flows well because of those little touches, and the length is just right on this one. It's not boring or punishing. If you like it fast, thrashy and melodic, you're going to really like this record, especially if you like it with some cool groove in there. For me, this is a fun album with a heap of energy. Solid album overall. It really stands up better than I originally thought it would have, because you know what your memories of it are. When you actually go back and analyse, it's like, fuck, this one stands up.
There's more
well.
dynamics on it than you realise.
Yeah.
You know, the way they sort of move the songs around and sort of pull you back and then go, you know, gung-ho, for lack of a better term.
Well,
you know, and go pretty full on. It pushes and pulls really good.
Yeah.
Like, they're quite good with their dynamics, and I thought it was well thought out.
Yeah.
In structure and all that kind of stuff, you know.
And it's simple but not simple at the same time. It's
there's
really
a bit
cool.
going on, yeah.
I thought the second half of the album tailed away a little bit for me, but not yes, it did for me, but not enough to make you anywhere. That doesn't make you tune out. It's just like you get the first half of the album. For me, side A was the winner, and side 2 was good, but not quite as good. That's just my point of view.
Aftershock, Medusa.
I think I actually prefer side 2.
Well, there we go.
But there you go. It's different strokes, different folks. Yeah.
I'm the one on the outside tonight. Obviously, you guys are going to be in agreement with the rest of them. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Madhouse, AIR, Medusa, and The Enemy were my standouts.
Okay.
Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think.
Can we kick Andrew off his own show?
What?
Can we kick you off your own show?
It'd be like the Vinnie Vincent thing. You kick you out of your own band. It's like, nah.
I didn't get kicked out, I resigned 3 times.
Now, are we actually going to go full Wayne's World, are we? Or Slayer Hell Awaits is next. Oh, no. Hell Awaits. That. If you're here watching us, you probably are anyway. You ready to go?
Yeah, man.
Probably the last time you'll see Andrew.
Huh?
What? If she's driving you home.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. You know I love you. No, I said nothing.
You've just gone full time, and that's it now. That's different in a whole different way now.
You know how much more fun I can have with the editing side of this now? It's going to be great. All right.